It leaves you with regret. It reflects poorly on your standards. It makes you less trustworthy. It means your needs may well go unmet. It makes the man value you less. And as if that wasn't all bad enough, it greatly increases the chances that a guy will leave after sex. Welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. In this video, we're talking about 6 more reasons. Yes, I just did a video on this and I thought of another 6 reasons you should never play it cool with a guy that you like. The first and one of my favorites, it's kind of a weird thing to have as a favorite, but I like to live life without regrets. And I like to be able to look back on any situation and say, you know, at the time, I know I did all that I could. I think there's a lot of healing and a lot of closure in being able to say that. Well, there's the downside of playing it cool. If you're playing it cool and the guy doesn't choose you, he doesn't end up selecting you, you don't end up together, how do you know if it was your playing it cool that helped it or may in fact have hindered it? What if playing it cool actually made things worse? What if you being a little bit elusive made him go, oh, I don't really want to invest in her, she doesn't feel safe, something else about her doesn't quite sit right, and that's why he left? Or conversely, maybe he would have left you anyway, but you're not going to know because you're going to have that doubt afterwards. Playing it cool gives you regret. If you do it and then it doesn't work out, you have to live with this question of, did I do the right thing? Was I open enough? Was it me that did it? Was your act impactful in a negative way to the end of the relationship? So if the last thing you want to live your life with is no regrets, then the very first thing you should remember every time you go to play it cool is, okay, if I'm going to get rejected, gosh darn it, I'm going to do it properly. The second is that it reflects poorly on your standards. So we play it cool because we really don't trust that the standards we have are going to create that challenge for the guy enough. So we have to kind of add to that more and more to make sure that he actually respects us, or the person respects us and wants to be with us. See, if we don't think we have any standards, or if we think they all disappear as soon as we like someone, then we realize, oh, I need to hold back my feelings. I need to keep things kind of close to my chest, because if he realizes how much he likes me, he's going to run a mile, as in he's going to balance out my liking with a lot of running. It's basically saying that, well, I don't really have any standards once I really like someone. So unfortunately, when you're playing it cool, what ends up happening is you say not just to yourself, but also unconsciously to him, that you don't trust those standards that you say that you have. Actions always speak louder than words. And so when you say you have all these standards, but then don't apply them and show with your actions that you don't really believe that you can even apply them, how is a guy going to respect that? When you play it cool, it reflects poorly on your standards and basically makes a guy believe you won't actually be able to action on them. Number 3 is it makes you less trustworthy. Oh, I've run into women who play it cool and I've run into women who don't. And that veneer, it can be attractive at the start. It can certainly pique interest, certainly sexual interest, which we'll talk about in a bit, but it can pique all types of interest, but it doesn't pique trust and safety and connection. And if that is what you want, and I believe it is because you're on the right channel for that, be the change you want in the world. Be the person you want to attract from the very start. Of course, you don't spew vulnerability and you don't give someone the ability to hurt you, as in trust someone who hasn't earned that right yet. But you also don't walk around with your cards super close to your chest, waiting for them to prove that they're trustworthy. We instead model and test with a little bit of trust to see if they can reciprocate it. And that's the difference. People always say, well, Mark, he has to earn trust. Well, only to a degree. Because if you give absolutely nothing, then the people who are trustworthy will already feel that you don't trust them and they'll float away. So you give it in little, slightly risky pieces to begin with. And you see what a man does with that, just as he should be doing the same for you. And you establish over time, as you 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10 vulnerability, as you trust each other more as the connection goes forward. That's how trust is built. Now, of course, we should have some skepticism around whether or not strangers are trustworthy, but we can't have 100% skepticism, because otherwise we just attract what we expect, which is untrustworthy people who want to play it cool like we do. So don't forget, playing it cool leads to less trust, and opening your heart a little bit and testing it and making sure that the guy can receive it and reciprocate it. That's going to make you more trustworthy. And most importantly, it's going to draw in the men who are trustworthy, because you're actually assuming that people are trustworthy to begin with. And with that assumption, that's what the universe will give you. Number 4 reason not to play it cool is that your needs will end up going unmet. This one's pretty straightforward. Obviously, if I'm chilling out, if I'm playing it cool all the time, and it is a little in the Aussie culture to do this, Well, eventually that's going to come back to bite us, because that chillness, that playing it coolness, that low maintenance, while it might help us get along with people, it's certainly not going to help us change things, change behaviors, be a little high maintenance to get our needs and or our wants met. When we're playing it cool, we're basically saying, I have no needs. I'm good. You're meeting them all already, which is fine if it's true, but in almost all cases, it's not true. And it's certainly not true for any period of time. We need to correct people. We need to train people how to treat us and how to love us. And playing it cool doesn't allow you to do that. You basically have to kind of go with whatever the default is, and then when you stop playing it cool, it's going to be very jarring to the relationship. So it makes it much more likely that your needs will not only go unmet in the short term, but if you do somehow play it cool and get that person into a relationship, you've now set up a precedent where we don't really talk about that stuff because we're too busy playing it cool, i.e. your needs will go unmet for the long term. Number 5, it makes the guy value you less. So if a guy is not meeting your needs and being challenged in some way to meet your needs, then he's not having to invest in you. There's no energy expenditure from him to you. You might think that's a good thing. Don't we want a relationship with no energy expenditure? Here's the problem. When we don't expend any energy into something, it subcommunicates to our mammalian brain, our reptile brain, that the thing is not especially valuable. Things in life that require effort are coded by our brain as valuable because there must be a reason we're putting in the effort. There must be something we're doing, some sort of reward. The thing must be valuable for us to be putting in the effort. It's a positive feedback loop between the effort we put in and the value we have in it. So if you're playing it cool and your needs are not being met, then naturally you don't get as much of that positive feedback loop. The guy might enjoy being around you, and he'll have a positive emotional experience, but it will very likely fizzle after 1 to 4 months. Could be a little longer than that, but it will fizzle. The reason is the emotional experiences are great, but they only hold so much juice when there is no challenge to maintain them. There's not that positive feedback cycle to say how valuable they are, and like anything that's a positive feeling, it gets old after a while. We kind of lose respect for it and we lose interest in it. So if that's been happening to you in your relationships, just double check you're not playing it cool, because you do have to establish that positive value loop that means your needs are getting met in the early relationship. And number 6, as if all of those were not bad enough, it greatly increases your chances of being ghosted after sex. When you play it cool, it's very sexy, it's very attractive, there's an elusiveness there, but it's kind of hard to be elusive and mysterious after you've been naked with someone in every position. So naturally, what do you have left after that? I mean, I guess you could be emotionally elusive, but how long is that really going to work for you? Eventually, you're going to get bonded and you're going to be working hard to keep the guy. Meanwhile, he's going to start to have less interest in the enigma, the mysterious stuff, because he's already had sex with you. You want to make sure that you're trusting your standards from the start of the video. And that means trusting 2 things. Number 1, that your standards will do the work of keeping him interested. Not the fact you're playing it cool, the fact you have standards and can leave at any time if you need to. And number 2, the connection and the bond that comes with approaching dating from an open-hearted, feelings-based experience. Especially for you as a woman, trusting your standards and trusting your feelings, i.e. your true real-world experience, bonding as a human being, that's the stuff that when he wakes up next to you after you've slept with him, he's still going to go, okay, I'm here for the real thing. This one is worth it. If you've just been playing it cool the whole time, you may well get him into bed. That can definitely work. But after that, you are going to have a massive uphill battle to maintain any sense of interest over the coming even weeks or months after that. 6 big reasons never to play it cool with the guy you like. That's in addition to the previous 5 from the other video. That's 11 reasons never to play it cool. Check out the other video if you haven't already. Don't forget, I've got my no man, no fee coaching guarantee. If you want to consult with me, you can book one via the link in the description. Otherwise, hit the subscribe button with the little bell. Leave a comment with your thoughts on the video. I would love to hear, and I will see you in the next one very soon.